Welcome to your iconic image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlena Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Haydee Irizarry is a musician and artist. She studied jazz, classical, and contemporary music at Berklee College of Music, where she also became the lead singer of the metal band Carnivora. Welcome, Haydee.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, what brought you into music in the first place?
Well, when I was growing up, I went to a Lutheran grade school, and I was surrounded by church music and this gorgeous piano that, my teachers were using, and that connection to, reading hymns every week and seeing that instrument just shine sparked something really special in me, and that's how it began at the age of
3. Okay. Wow. Which explains a lot, knowing and seeing your range. So how did you go from church music to metal band?
Well, oddly enough, starting from 3, for my 4th birthday, I was like, I want a piano. And I spent 4 years from there working on, the hymns and everything. But I wrote in my journal at 8 years old that I want to be a rock and metal singer. So somewhere along the line, I remember listening to contemporary music and being like, what's that? That's really cool. Okay, that's the next thing I want to pursue now. Since then, I searched for avenues that would allow me to pursue contemporary music, like the School of Rock, and just listening to albums that were a little bit heavier than, your average hymn. My favorite hymns were always the one in minor anyways, the darker ones.
So, because I've seen you literally within a fraction of a second go from singing Disney and sounding like a Disney princess to death metal. And so when you do that, which was amazing to me, because your range is outstanding, your talents are amazing. When you do that, do you have to shift gears in your head as well? Like, is there a process to that?
Absolutely. Those two different vocal tones come from different mechanisms of the voice. And it has been trained to be an immediate switch. When I was starting, you're figuring out where the proper placement is. But, over time with the music that I've done over the years, that switch has become effortless. But it's definitely coming from a different place that needs to be supported very well, or else it's, vocal rest forever.
Did you have to, or what was the process to learn where those different sounds came from and how to make them?
So the process began actually when I was in college at Berklee. There were a lot of ensembles that supported metal music. There was a heavy metal opera, metal ensembles, and that I really wanted to pursue. And I saw that as an opportunity to grow in that sound. So honestly, a lot of YouTube and trial and error. Now the learning is everywhere, but at that time it did seem more minimal. Like there's the Zen of Screaming and YouTube videos. So it was a lot of trial and error for myself, because everyone's body is different and you literally cannot see what's going on. You can only feel it. So it was a big learning curve for me.
Were there people that you in particular would try and emulate?
Oh, absolutely. At the time I am still a big fan of Elisa White Gloves from Arch Enemy, but she was in The Agonist, and I really loved her range as well. And I was just, how do I get that low, full sound? How do I get that high kind of like screechy sound, but with it being still full? And then Tatiana from Ginger was a big influence, and then Angela, the original singer of Arch Enemy, the second singer of Arch Enemy. Yeah, big fans.
So I know, let's say with bodybuilders, you start off and you can lift, a small amount, and then you keep going and going, you can lift more, and those muscles get stronger. Is it the same with singing?
Oh, 100%. That's actually how I describe it all the time. It is like, because these are muscles, in order to grow more muscle, you need to tear and then repair and grow upon that. So extremely, yeah, when I was first starting doing that death metal style, or when anyone first starts, they really should only do what I would say is the equivalent of like a 5-pound weight, and for a short amount of time, just pure vowels, and then just getting the sound first. And then from there, you can do a single word, and then go from there, do 2 words. It definitely is like very similar progression to, I would say, bodybuilding.
And you mentioned in there that, it's a tearing down and building up process. And I know, with bodybuilding, there is that kind of ripping the muscle, so to speak, which frightens me when I think about using that same analogy for muscles in your throat. But is it the same?
To be honest, my journey with it did feel kind of similar. It wasn't structured by a professional, at the time, a developing professional. I was doing a lot of trial and error, like taking my skill set from standard singing and seeing how it applied. And there are a lot of mistakes that people make along the way, but I learned from them. And with my knowledge, I understood, like, oh, I made that mistake here. I'm going to pause, rest, and try it again when it's appropriate, because you're not going to get it right the first time. So that was something that I was so passionate about doing, that I was okay going through that trial and error. I really felt in my heart like I wanted to pursue that, and I had a lot to say with that part of me and that voice. So to me, yeah.
But here's the interesting thing to me, because I've heard you sing that. I've heard you sing Frank Sinatra. I've heard, I know you do jazz. What's your favorite?
My favorite? Ooh. Honestly, right now, my favorite is blues and jazz. I love it. And as I'm getting older, my voice is changing and becoming more mature, and I feel really good singing that style of music and growing in it again. Because oddly enough, while I was at Berklee, a very, very contemporary in jazz school, I went the opposite route, learning something really aggressive. So I'm kind of circling back to that and finding love in it.
What about it do you love?
I love how vibrant it is, and colorful, and the lyrics are fun, and the music is fun. I like, big band like hits, and just being a little bit more theatrical in that way.
Do you think it's important because you kind of mentioned that your voice is changing and you're kind of leaning into that. Do you think that it's important to recognize that about ourselves? So, as somebody's voice changes or something, it may lend itself to a different style. Do you think it's important to kind of explore those things and lean into them?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm doing that currently. So over the pandemic, I closed the chapter in one of the bands that grew my death metal style, Averse, and I created what I feel like is a stunning album with them. But I was listening to my heart. I was like, I don't feel like I need to do this particular style anymore. I need to trust myself and see where this new journey is taking me. And making that decision, even though it was bittersweet, it has only been fruitful and brought me joy. You know, the last thing I wanted was to not feel inspired with music. And that is a disservice to the folks that you're sharing those songs with. So I would say absolutely follow that, and, you know, never burn any bridges. Just follow your heart and trust that it's going to be exactly what you want it to be.
You know, and I think a lot of people miss that, in the sense that art and so many things is a journey. If you look at Picasso and where he began versus where he finished, two very different places. And so it's, you know, it's leaning into what we're inspired by and where our talents take us. So tell me about, because I know you're up in the Boston area, what's the music scene like up in that area?
It's very diverse, especially having a school like Berklee around. There are venues everywhere. They're scattered about, but the music that's being performed is of a high quality. And that's very special for the community of Boston, you know, to have a gift like that. There are underground punk and metal and sludgy, doomy bands in Allston. There's more, you know, posh jazz trios at the cocktail clubs. You could just find anything if you really, really look for it. Yeah, I think it's great. You know, I've been happy with it so far.
What's been the best part of the journey and the hardest part of the journey so far for you?
Of being a musician?
Mm-hmm.
The best part of the journey, I would say, have been the people that I have met. You know, I think they're all so amazing and talented. Like, I'm very grateful to meet so many different types of artists doing what I do. Sound engineers, makeup artists, models, photographers, videographers, painters, seamstresses, you know, everything that it involves the visual arts, all of it, I need in my life, you know. So these folks come into my life and they're just so inspiring. So that has been a blessing. The hardest part is always just keeping the faith, knowing that you are doing something beautiful and meaningful in times of, this is my cat.
Yeah, I heard those little feet. Oh, how cute.
He wants to be in the, sorry. The hardest part, what is the hardest part, Jasmine? For her, it's me being away. But the hardest part is, yeah, keeping the faith and knowing that what you're doing is meaningful and contributing to society. And just, yeah, not letting anything get you down. You know, those instances happen in their own ways, but they get easier and easier to just dodge. They really do. You know, when you love something so much, it's just like, oh, it's the past. Oh, you know, that's my answer.
So when you create a song or anything, even a piece of art, do you create it for you or do you create it for potential commercial gain?
Well, I definitely start with something that I'm feeling internally. I don't, even though, you know, in school I studied, oh, we need to make a commercial music for this cat food company. There is that mindset of it, but my songs have always just been about feel and how I feel in the moment and what the song is telling me and what I like to hear. So that probably leads into the commercial aspect. Like, I listen to what's going on and I think, would I want to hear this? Is this a melody that, makes me happy to perform, that someone will be excited about? But as with Carnivora, my band now, I am starting to think about that accessibility, but not in an overly, I don't know, commercial business way.
Mm-hmm.
Just catchiness,
Yeah.
fun. What's going to be a hook that's going to make us all excited and make the listener be like, I love that part of the song and I want to hum it in my kitchen while I'm doing the dishes, getting better with that.
How do you get eyes on you? How do you promote yourself?
As an artist? Yeah, well, there's so many different avenues, and I have my online presence, which is a really big factor for a lot of artists, making video clips, reels, cover videos on YouTube, any way to get yourself out there visually online has been a big thing for me. Signing up for opportunities like modeling for my friend's clothing company, or helping out here and there, and playing shows, obviously, really getting out there is the most important part. Booking gigs, showing up to support other artists, see what's going on is really important. And most recently, I got a job in the Boston arts community. So that has been huge for me too, meeting more artists and just being around, seeing what's going on. There's so many different ways to approach it, and everyone is different. So whatever makes you feel the most comfortable, but yourself, I would say is how you get yourself out there. Just always create and always be a supporter of the creative arts.
And, I don't think a lot of people get that aspect of it also, because so many people look at things where it's a sense of competition or a scarcity mentality, that if somebody is doing something, or even from a sense of comparison. Okay, I'm going to compare myself to this one or compare myself to that one, but there's so much to be gained by seeing what other people are doing and supporting other people in what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was a big lesson for me at Berklee, because there was this overflow, kind of in a way, kind of too much stimulation overload. There was so many opportunities to support everyone. It was kind of a balance, figuring out that balance for you. But that it's extremely important to just show up and not see it as a competition, because that's not what it's about. Music that's not what it's about. It's about it in being inclusive. And I think about that very often now, how I can be more involved in supporting others. Yeah.
Do you believe in the together we rise mentality, that, if the community helps one another?
Yeah, of course, especially being a woman in metal and in rock. We're rising. Everything I see, there's just another badass woman coming out of nowhere, and I'm like, Yes, that's great. That's amazing. And I love to see it. I love to see what they're wearing, like, oh, that's a great outfit. I love to see, what their voice, their messages, and, what they're trying to do with their artistry. I think it's amazing. And I do. Yeah. I love that.
Do you think up to now, because I feel like the presence of women in rock overall has been minimal and over the years, and it's seems to be shifting. Do you think that was for lack of interest in it by women, or do you think it was lack of opportunity?
I would say definitely not lack of interest, because women have been doing this for a long time. I would say, lack of opportunity and a way to see, for people to see it, in the mainstream and regularly. Because I feel like a lot of women were underground and trying to find a way to get seen. When people talk to me about being a metal vocalist, they're like, I just haven't seen any of this. And it's because it's not really in the forefront. You have to do a lot of digging or be at that place at the right time, which, goes back to showing up. Who's on this bill tonight at the bar across the street? Yeah.
Nice. And I know that you work both with the band, but you also do a lot of solo work. How is it different? What do you gain from one versus the other?
So the band fulfills that dream of mine, that 8-year-old dream. I want to be a rock and metal singer, surrounded by distorted guitars and just blazing, grooving drums and, low end. I love that, because that's not something that I'm going to create on my own. I need that community of my guys to combine all of our different influences into something that's unique to us, but in a genre that we all love extremely. So that is different and unique in itself. And I'm like extremely blessed to be in that setting. But the solo stuff is everything around that dream. It's another part. It's the classical music that I grew up loving. It's the jazz music. It's the blues music that I grew up listening to with my mom. It's those inspirations and those dreams that I also have been wanting to nourish, but are way more personal, and I believe limitless. So I'm excited to have created a name called Zahra Lux, which is what I put my solo stuff under, to be that creative person and see where I can go with it. So it's anything and everything I want.
So as a musician, what would you like to be known for? Other than, I have to say, if you ever watch Haydee perform live, any kind of rock or metal or whatever, her hair is a whole thing. She really needs a t-shirt that says, stand back 6 feet or what, because it's a weapon. And
that's true.
But other than that, what would you like to be known for musically and as a musician?
Oh, I'm just blushing. As a musician, I would want to be known for creating an impact on the listener and the viewer, touching people's hearts, either with, my voice or a certain musical passage. The whole point is to inspire. That would be my first, hope. But I guess also to just be fearless and just put yourself out there, because I do have a lot of anxiety going up on stage. It is a very vulnerable thing. And I want to inspire people to not give a shit, excuse my language, just go up there, make those mistakes, and be okay with making those mistakes, because then you can fix them or work on them and get better. So
how do you combat that anxiety before you go on stage or when you step on stage?
I definitely would attribute that. I do a lot of meditation these days, and that helps me out a bunch. Just being mindful, being compassionate to where I am in that moment is a huge, huge help. I tell myself, I give myself a pep talk, like, because I am anxious, I am afraid, but the whole point is to be fearless. And I drink some water, I do my stretches, I do my warm-ups, I prepare. And if I'm still feeling anxious, I tell myself, I did everything I can do in the moment, and I just have to go for it. And the majority of the time, the moment I step on the stage, it just goes away like that. Or, some little mistake happens, but I've made so many over the years, it's like, it doesn't affect me as much. I'm like, okay, noted. Flat there, noted. Bring batteries, noted.
Yeah. And I'm sure we, as you recognize things and notice things that we as an audience would not. And because, yeah. And, I will share this with you, because a gentleman that trains a lot of speakers and things like that had shared with me, he said, one of the ways to combat anxiety is, generally, if we are anxious when we step onto a stage, we've just made it about us. Once we turn it around and make it about the audience and about giving them something and doing something for them, then it's not about us, and the anxiety will diminish.
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what it is. You walk up on stage and you see those people and you can't help but smile, and just forget about your worries, because it really is about that connection. Especially when I was at the Whiskey, what a legendary venue to be able to perform at, and just like see everybody with the lights. It's kind of hard to not let that be the most important thing.
Yeah. What has been your best experience on stage so far?
Ooh, I have two. Performing at Chicago Open Air, which is a big rock metal festival, in 2017 with my old band Averse, was amazing, because it was this big, rock stage. We started the festival off, but there were still, I don't know, maybe a couple thousand people there. And that was the first time I got to really see like a sea of folks like coming to the stage, and the sound was perfect. It was amazing. My hair was even longer then. I was just, it was phenomenal. And my mother was right in front of, she was so proud. And I loved that moment, because I was 22 at the time. And it also showed me like, okay, I can do this, and I can do it well. So that was amazing. The second best performance was the Berklee commencement concert graduation performance, which is, from a school, a graduating class of all musicians, very selective. They're very selective about who gets to perform. So I wanted it so bad. I prepared my audition video a month and a half in advance. I did an Aerosmith song, and
fitting for Boston.
Yeah, I had an Aerosmith song, duh. And basically, they loved it. They must have loved it so much that I got to play the Agganis Arena, this in Boston University. And it was an arena, and I was given a whole song and backup dancers. So yeah, not every singer got a whole song, and definitely not every song had backup dancers. So that was a huge gift. I wore this pink, dress suit and like magenta, like lingerie underpiece. It was amazing. And we were dancing, and I was practicing with the dancers, learning choreography. So that was another moment that sparked in my head, oh, I can do this too. I'm graduating college, and I can also do this pop star setup. And the sound was also amazing. The lights, forget about it. And it was a whole arena. It was it was unreal. And my mom was obviously there too.
So if you were to close your eyes and picture your perfect scenario 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what would it be?
I would want to continue performing on stages like that, and the smaller, more intimate stages. I don't want the ones that I'm doing now to go away, but I want it to keep growing. And I would love for whoever I'm playing with, or whatever style I'm playing, I want there to be a piano there. And
because your voice is not your only instrument that you know how to use. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah. It's just, from the age of 3, it's always been a part of me. So to have that continue to grow, that would be my dream, just different crowds, different venues of all sizes, and to just be performing music that I feel is both beautiful and inspiring, and with people that I love. That's where I would like to see myself. Basically where I'm already at now, just keep going and see how it grows.
Love it. And with that, Haydee, I just have 4 final questions for you. First one, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Best piece of advice I was ever given. So I thought about this. When I graduated high school, I was studying classical still, and my teachers were like, why Berklee? Why contemporary music? And, I pursued it, and my choral teacher believed in me so much. She was talking to me privately, and this stuck with me forever. She told me, Haydee, you can be anything or do anything you want to do musically as a creative. And that was more of a statement, but at the time I was in a very dark place, and I didn't really believe that. I knew I was capable of it, but hearing someone that I really respected look at me and tell me there's this vast limitlessness in your capabilities. So that was life-changing for me,
So share with us one thing on your bucket list.
My bucket list, pyro. I want to play big rock and metal festivals, or, pop, whatever. And my dream has always been to have pyro. That would be so badass. Maybe in a couple of years.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I gotta watch out for my hair though.
Yeah. When the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
So at first I thought a microphone, but then I was like, I love my cat so much, and my cat is basically famous. Everyone loves her. Jasmine has to be one of my accessories. And to add to the badassery and my things of interest, I would love a motorcycle.
Do you ride now?
I have my license, but I do not ride currently. I gotta get a bike that's right for me.
And last one, how do people find you? How do people listen to your music? How do people book you if they want to book you? All those kinds of things.
So I perform in Carnivora, Carnivora. That's where you'll find my rock and metal music, my band. And my solo artist name is Zahra Lux, Zahra space Lux. And all of those have Instagram, Facebook, and their respective emails in the contact. And my personal page, Haydee, spelled Haydee, Irizarry, Irizarry. I have my own website. You could find everything there. I'm on Spotify and all other streaming services. But yeah, my website is a great place to go to disperse and find what works for you.
Thank you so much for being here, Haydee. I can't wait to see you perform live again.
I can't wait to see you again. And I love all the photos that you took of us. They're some of my favorites.
Thank you. Hopefully we will see each other again soon.
I would love that. I hope you have a great week.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlena Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlenasemenza.com.